So here's the deal. You're going to fall also to the level of your standards. Goals are aspirational. Standards are expectations. I love setting good goals. I set 10-year goals for myself. I set 5-year goals for my company. I set 3-year goals that I make public. I set 2, 1-year goals that we make really public. And then we break it down to month, the week, and even the day in cases depending on the role. And I love goals. It's something to shoot for. But your standards sometimes even have to be more important than your goals. Setting up a standard is... All right, welcome back to the Monster Mindset, guys. Glad you're here today. Do me a favor, give it that like and follow and subscribe thing going on. Appreciate it. Share it out to your friends. Going to try to bring some value today. We're going to talk about how your standards set the ceiling of your business. The ceiling that you set of like how high are your standards, and they should be high, are exactly what's going to determine how far you can go with business. If you look at like really big companies, companies that maybe you feel like they don't even apply to what you do, right? Like I'll use McDonald's as an example. Hey, you may not love their hamburgers, but you know exactly what you're going to get when you go get a McDonald's hamburger. There's no question about it. You can go any place in the world and get the same hamburger. And the reason is because they have certain standards that they operate by. And if people know what they can expect from you, they're going to share and they're going to come back. It's very clear. You got to have clear standards so that your processes are refined, they're dialed, and you understand what you will allow within your business. So standards are going to set the ceiling. Sloppy jobs, causing redos on stuff, sloppy work, failure to follow up. These are all low standards issues. And I look at it and I just think, gosh, man, I've been too empathetic a lot of my life. I've been in that seat where I'm like, it's okay, man, we'll get it right next time. And I have excused bad behavior over and over and over again, sometimes for years. And I just can't do it anymore. If we want to grow to become the company that we want to be, I have to act in the way that a CEO would act, that an owner of a company would act, as if I was running a company that was twice as big at least, if not 5 and 10 times bigger than the company I currently run. And if I can imagine running a $500 million company that's 10 times bigger than where I'm at right now, then I have to realize that going back and redoing work doesn't cut it. Doing things twice doesn't cut it. Having salespeople that don't follow up on what they're supposed to be doing on their customers to make sure that they're happy with the work they did, or to follow up on bids that they've given, or to go out and knock doors the second, third, fourth, fifth, and 10th time until they finally reach the customer. If they're not willing to hold the high standards to meet the expectations, then they're not going to be successful, and consequently, you are not going to be successful. Set your standards at a place where you know that your team, your company, and thereby you will be successful. Less than that is just cheating everyone around you. And no, this isn't you being selfish. This is you looking out for the future of all of your employees and everyone that is affected by your company. I have about 200 employees, and if you figure the average number of people per household is about 2.5 people, that means there's 500 people that my decisions directly affect. And then if you calculate in all the subcontractors that we use, and you add in all the suppliers and their families and the support teams that go into those suppliers, the decisions that I make now suddenly affect 1,000, maybe 1,500 people. It adds up quick. And if you're leading a company and you have low standards, your ceiling's not going to be there. You're going to have turnover. You're going to have poor customer service. You're going to have poor follow-up on sales. And all those things add up to you won't grow. Are your standards higher than your competition? Most ceilings for growing a company are self-installed, and they're self-installed by your failure to hold high standards and high expectations. And there's ways to approach that, like to have high standards. Some great things I've learned from Dave Ramsey's organization and Dave Ramsey himself. Hi, Dave, if you happen to watch this. Some of the things that, like how do you address things? If you don't let things go by without saying something. So if you notice something, even a small thing, somebody's just walking past some trash that's on the ground in the hallway of your office, and you see them walking past it before you get to it, you might say, hey, let's help keep this place clean, right? It's a tiny little thing, but people understand from small interactions that standards matter. And also set the example. Pick up the trash yourself, right? That's the smallest possible example I could think of at the moment. But if you notice somebody's having a bad attitude, in passing, the first time you notice it, not the 10th time you notice it or the 100th time you notice it, when you realize they're truly a cancer in your company, the first time you notice that they have a bad attitude, you say something. You say, hey, listen, your attitude today is not going to cut it. So perk up. The second time you notice it, you have a sit-down meeting with them and you get real and you say, hey, listen, I mentioned your bad attitude the other day, and you obviously didn't pay attention, and I want you to be successful here. And if your attitude doesn't change, you won't be, because you won't be here. So I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm just trying to be real with you. What I need is a bunch of people who lift each other up. If we have cancers in the culture, they've got to go. So I need to ask you, are you going to be a cancer, or are you going to lift everybody up around you? And then you come to an agreement, right? The third time it happens, performance improvement plan. You write them up, you let them know. They need to share your urgency with changing their attitude. This is their last warning. And if it continues, not if it only stops temporarily, if it ever happens again and becomes an issue again, they will be terminated. It's very clear. You have high standards. You have mentioned it in passing. You gave them a warning shot when you talked to them. You write them up, and then you let them go. Don't tolerate the cancer. And when you let the cancer go, your team's happier. And cancer takes many forms. It's not just attitude. It's failure to do the work at the expected level, right? You got to set those high standards. And that's what this is all about. Setting high standards and then holding people true to those accountability factors. If you'll do that, it'll be a game changer for you. Your business will begin to thrive because people share your urgency in everything that you do. So here's the deal. You're going to fall also to the level of your standards. Goals are aspirational. Standards are expectations. I love setting good goals. I set 10-year goals for myself. I set 5-year goals for my company. I set 3-year goals that I make public. I set 2-1-year goals that we make really public. And then we break it down to month, the week, and even the day in cases, depending on the role. And I love goals. It's something to shoot for. But your standards sometimes even have to be more important than your goals. Setting up a standard is essential in certain roles. For example, in Bartlett Roofing, we have quality control representatives, and knowing our metrics for how well the quality control is done based on how many callbacks we get, or how many times we have to go and rework something, how much warranty work we have to do. Knowing our standards on that allows us to decide if we want to keep a quality control rep in the office or not, and whether or not they should be employed. And when they fall outside of it, it gives us the opportunity to set a standard that keeps us operating at a certain level where we have the conversations, the passing conversation, the sit-down conversation, the performance improvement plan, and hey, you got to go. You can't uphold our standards. Daily standards determine results. And if you're growing a company, you need to make sure you take the time to set daily standards for everybody on your team. What is their belief about what their workday should look like? And do they understand what your standards are? If you have been unclear on this about everything that each of your employees should complete each and every day, you're failing to set good enough standards. Nobody's perfect at this, I don't think. Maybe a company that's been around for 25 years and really even put people in the roles of setting standards, possibly. But with the nature of change of business and life and everything that's affecting us today, whether it's AI or, your business is growing or you're personally growing, all those things are going to change. And so I don't know if there is a perfect answer for standards, other than to say that they're going to be continually changing. And they should be with how your company is growing. If your standards aren't changing because your company is growing, that just means you're not learning anything. You're not challenging your team or yourself to grow and become more than what they are. Early on, your standard is, hey, everybody hustles, get it done. And you've got micromanagement happening. You got 10 people on your team and you know what everybody's doing all the time and you're on top of it. But later on, maintaining standards about your margin for your company and how you manage your company financially, who has accountability, who's keeping who accountable, and what are they being held accountable to? How transparent is the data across your company? That's a big thing that we just even recently have made big strides on. Good job, Blake. Defining who owns the outcomes of specific things. For me, my definition of owning the outcome is people on my C-suite is hey, if we're failing in sales, Jory, you're failing. You can point the finger at anybody in your team, but the fact is that Jory, you own the result of this, right? If we're failing in, our tech, Blake, you're failing. If it's production, JD, I got the guy who I know I am holding accountable to get the results. And sometimes that means you got to have hard conversations even with your most senior team members. I had a tough conversation with one of my guys recently on my C-suite team and let him know hey, you can point the finger all you want here, but there is one of your subordinates and his subordinates are clearly failing in their role. Our metrics show it, plain as day, and you know it. You need to get the problem corrected ASAP. You have 30 days to get your first level team straightened out. If that doesn't work, you got 30 days to get their manager straightened out. And after that, I'm going to be talking to you about straightening you out and maybe writing you up in performance. It's not something you take lightly when you're talking to a C-suite team member. They've taken years to get where they're at. But they understand that there's standards. And those standards affect the ceiling of how high your company can go. So get it right. Pay attention to your metrics. Understand all of the working nuances of your business and find ways to report on them that are simple to report so that it's very clear when the standards are being upheld. Don't miss a beat on it. If you do, you're going to regret it. Here's the thing. Raising your standards, if you don't have them high enough right now, is going to create some friction on your team. And the truth of the matter is you're probably going to lose people over it. People don't like to be held accountable when they've been doing something at a low standard. And then you set a high standard, people quit. They leave because suddenly they're uncomfortable. That's an okay consequence because the people that you actually want on your team are going to grow with you. They're going to understand. And you don't just set them and then just tell them tough shit, deal with it. you sit down and you describe to them, what is the effects of the standards that we have right now versus what they should be? I need you to have clarity about how this affects the rest of the business, how it affects the margin, how it affects the customer outcome, how it affects the other people on your team, how it affects the profitability for the year, and all of the people that are tied into that, the families, the suppliers, the subcontractors, whatever you're dealing with. All of those people are affected by us having low standards here. So I know that this isn't going to be comfortable. I need you to grow through it. If you're unable to grow through it, you don't have to say this part initially, but you're going to have to say it pretty quick if they don't stand up, right? If they don't raise their standards, you're going to have to say it pretty quick. But your expectation should be is I'm going to set the standard. I'm going to make it very clear that this is not a negotiable standard. This is a standard. This is the floor. We don't go below this standard because we need something to stand on when we're trying to get to the ceiling we're trying to reach. Be ready for the friction. It's okay. The unicorns of your team, the people who are really, truly standout employees, are going to rise to the occasion. Let me say that again. The people who matter, the people you want to keep on your team, those guys are going to rise to the occasion. They're going to push through the adversity. They're going to see the end goal. They're going to understand what the ceiling could be. And they're going to want to take that ride with you. And those who can't get bought into that, they're going to fall away eventually anyway. It's okay, let them go. So the challenge for today, look at your standards. And when I say look at your standards, I don't mean like spend 5 minutes thinking about it. I mean, you need to sit down for the day and understand what are your KPIs for your business. What are your performance standards? What percentage of your jobs do you get callbacks on? How quickly is your follow-up time? From lead to close, what is the time window that you're dealing with? What are your margins? And is your company actually living up to the standards that you would expect if you were a customer? Not only what did you expect if you were a customer, but that you would refer to your friends and family if you were a customer. And if you can't live up to those standards and make money doing it, you definitely have a standards problem. Raise the ceiling. Set the standards, raise the ceiling, and go out there and attack it. Take the day, take the week even, to understand what your KPIs should be and to set standards, and the game will change for you. All right. That's the monster mindset of the day. See ya.